Hello everyone, Fratferno here, and I'm starting off with another intro, a different intro. I already had the intro with my father passing, for the beginning of this, but now the commentary is going to change, but I'll explain that in a minute. First off, I got a different character here. With a lot of help, I did get to beat the final boss here in the Imperial Sanction, protecting Emperor Kisu from the final boss of the game. And I got my spirits skills, my elite skill to help me make up these spirits that are very helpful, and then get more energy and make this one to protect the team, and then this to heal up anyone who happens to start to lose a lot of health. And then this character, this hero, has an assassin skill to run into enemies to start attacking them with this. So the thing about this series, the rest of the series, first off, Frightferno, the name of my character, is based on fright, right? You could be afraid of these spirits, right? They're attacking you, and it's very spooky. And also there's ashes, like the Sungrai, as I think you might have noticed already. That could be spooky, you could say. And also Inferno, right? Fire magic and such. And I'm going to focus on fire magic, especially with a skill we're going to get eventually, pretty soon, at some point in this. Emperor, I know you're bored, but I gotta get through this. So anyway, I'm going to be quoting from someone who you might find who is controversial. You might not like it first. But I'm going to be reading from quotations from Chairman Mao. I know his leadership has a really bad reputation, but I think he had the right idea, the right motives, the right, shall we say, spirit in what he said and what he wrote. So I hope you listen up. I hope you watch up. I hope you enjoy the rest of the series of that. I think if you really get into it, I think you will enjoy it. So there's that. Enjoy. Yeah, hello everyone, Fratferno here, and I got some text messages. I'll mention him here. Route 1 Gaming, I'm gonna go to his place. And, okay, and I have another thing I have to get to. Man, I'm busy today with this game. This game's taking hours and hours. I'm hammering it out. Okay, back to the quotes, back to the quotations from Chairman Mao. In China, although in the main socialist transformation has been completed, and with respect to the system of ownership, and although the large-scale and turbulent class struggles of the masses, characteristic of the previous revolutionary periods, have in the main come to an end, there are still remnants of the overthrown landlord and comprador classes. There is still a bourgeoisie, and the remolding of the petite bourgeoisie has only just started. Aside, I think bourgeoisie is a really French word, or maybe German, French. I think Karl Marx was like kind of sort of Germany, but also a little was familiar with France a lot. I mean, there was the Paris Commune, which he did write about pretty extensively. There you go. I got my my scroll. Not in hindsight, not the best time, because these enemies are not really at a level where I get much experience from them. But whatever, it's no big deal. I'll just be behind in level a bit. I can handle that, I guess. Kind of. Okay, where was I? The class struggle is by no means over. The class struggle between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, the class struggle between the different political forces, and the class struggle in the ideological field between proletariat and the bourgeoisie will continue to be long and tortuous, and at times will even become very acute. The proletariat seeks to transform the world according to its own world outlook, and so does the bourgeoisie. In this respect, the question of which will win out, socialism or capitalism, is still not really settled. I highlighted that one in yellow to indicate, hey, not feeling so sure about it. And you know what? That's good. It's good to be unsure about things, because then you are how do I say it? On your toes, focused on like seeing, okay, well, where are the shortcomings? What can I do? This quote was from 1957. I partially highlighted that one. Next quote. It will take a fairly long period of time to decide the issue in the ideological struggle between socialism and capitalism in our country. The reason is that the influence of the bourgeoisie and of the intellectuals who come from the old society will remain in our country for a long time to come, and so will their class ideology. If it is not sufficiently understood, or is not understood at all, the gravest mistakes will be made, and the necessity of waging the struggle in the ideological field will be ignored. Ibid. In our country, bourgeois and petit bourgeois ideology, anti-Marxist ideology, will continue to exist for a long time. Basically, the socialist system has been established in our country. We have won the basic victory in transforming the ownership of the means of production, but we have not yet won complete victory on the political and ideological fronts. In the ideological field, the question of who will win in the struggle between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie has not been really settled yet. So that's a kind of a repeat of the previous one. There's some consistency between the quotes here. We still have to wage a protracted struggle against bourgeois and petit bourgeois ideology. It is wrong to not to understand this, and to give up on ideological struggle. All erroneous ideas, all poisonous weeds, all ghosts and monsters must be subjected to criticism, and in no circumstance should they be allowed to spread unchecked. However, the criticism should be fully reasoned, analytical, convincing, and not rough, bureaucratic, metaphysical, or dogmatic. Okay. So the criticism he's referring to is the criticism of what socialists would make of their enemies, of their ideological enemies. So this past one was partly highlighted by me, partly highlighted by other people. So here we are, Seitung Harbor. I'm going to be here for a while just to get ready for the dangers ahead, because we're going to get into another jump in difficulty, or rather a jump in level for the creatures that we face. We're going to fight more monks and warriors and all that. Lots of dangerous monsters and such. So this is a great place to get some skills. There is quite a lot of variety. Dissonance here is one of those where you have to spend a lot of energy, so that's good, because then I have the energy to do that. I have the energy storage to handle that and get into some other spells I want to do. Ward against melee is pretty good, but I think I might just step away from this earth magic stuff, kind of focus on fire magic, restoration magic, and And energy storage. Yeah. There we go. Speaking of energy, great spell for getting your energy back, because every flare then gives me 1 energy back. You do a flare every like 2 seconds, and thus, or maybe 3 seconds. The game can be a bit slow, but therefore the game, I kind of get a net gain of energy, especially if I have Aura of Restoration, lots of energy storage set up. So then Aura of Restoration gives me a little bit of energy for every spell I cast. No matter what, just cast a spell, get an energy. But that's not going to be for quite some time. This quest I got, I recorded. I was unable to do it. I think it's best to try it when you get a bunch of allies with you, but I don't think I can do that anymore. So I'm just gonna abandon that. I don't even think I'm gonna show that off. It was just a travesty. I ended up having to fight like 20 different people, 20 enemies, and that was just terrible. Alright, back to the quotes as I run around looking for things to do, like getting new armor because I'm in a new place. The game's gotten tougher, so you gotta get ready. Both dogmatism and revisionism run counter to Marxism. Marxism must certainly advance. It must develop along with the development of practice and cannot stand still. It would become lifeless if it remained stagnant and stereotyped. However, the basic principles of Marxism must never be violated, or otherwise mistakes will be made. It is dogmatism to approach Marxism from a metaphysical point of view and to regard it as something rigid. It is revisionism to negate the basic principles of Marxism and to negate its universal truth. Revisionism is one form of bourgeois ideology. The revisionists deny the differences between socialism and capitalism, between the dictatorship of the proletariat and the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. And what they advocate is in fact not the socialist line, but the capitalist line. In present circumstances, revisionism is more pernicious than dogmatism. One of our current important tasks on the ideological front is to unfold criticism of revisionism. Ibid. I should probably mention, I don't know if you really caught on by now, but capitalism and socialism, there's like socialism led by the masses, the proletariat, capitalism led by the bourgeoisie and the intelligentsia, people who bought, basically the people who bought property and businesses and such. That's essentially it. And thus, like socialism, even in different forms, kind of tends to benefit most people more than capitalism does. But then again, there's those revisionists who come around and mess it up and kind of bring things back to some weird form of capitalism. What can you do? You can read Mao, listen to Mao, because he knows what he's talking about. I don't know if he was enough of an influence, I doubt that, but that's just how things end up happening. Alright, now I got my better armor. I can sell my other armor for a little bit. Might as well. Back to the quotes. Revisionism, or right opportunism, is a bourgeois trend of thought that is even more dangerous than dogmatism. The revisionists, the right opportunists, pay lip service to Marxism. They too attack dogmatism, but what they are actually attacking is the quintessence of Marxism. They oppose or distort materialism and dialectics, oppose or try to weaken the people's democratic dictatorship and the leading role of the Communist Party, and oppose or try to weaken socialist transformation and socialist construction. So, I gotta bring up something here. Dialectics is like a short for dialectical materialism. It's basically like if you took physics, like, the approach to a hard science, and you took that approach and put it to economics. Like, okay, how is the economy running? How are we, why are some people poor and most people poor and some people rich? And why are businesses doing all this? Why do they have to be regulated? Because they don't care, or they care more about making money than taking care of their local areas. That whole kind of thing. So you might have noticed I cut out there. I tried going in with 2 henchmen. That did not work out because I found I ran into like a group of like 6 or 7 enemies, and I really could not handle that. This skill, Tenai's Heat, is pretty good. It's good if you're going up against a bunch of warriors or assassins. You can take them down. Do some damage over time. If I get a lot more fire magic, I'll be able to pull that off and keep it up for as long as for the whole time period of its recharge. The recharge being 20 seconds. That's like the third thing. Like there's energy cost, casting time, and then recharge time. Like kind of an arrow, clockwise arrow. Like that one's 30, for example. Let's see, this one's 4. It heals a lot, but it's a bit risky. You're going to want to do it with spirits around, and your spirits might just be killed. I don't know. It's dangerous, Alright, where was I with the quotes? Oh yeah, dialectics. I was explaining that. After the basic victory of the socialist revolution in our country, there are still a number of people who vainly hope to restore the capitalist system and fight the working class in every front, including the ideological one. And their right-hand men in this struggle are the revisionists. 1957. Okay, how long's the next chapter? Kind of a long one. Okay, I gotta see. Let me see here. So the first one was like 1 to 8, 8 to 23, 23 to 45. Oh man, I gotta get started on this. I gotta get cracking. And by cracking, I'm not talking about the sea monster. I'm talking about like I'm gotta get through this monster of a list of quotations. Okay, here we go. Part 3, Socialism and Communism. Communism is at once a complete system of proletarian ideology and a new social system. It is different from any other ideological and social system, and is the most complete, progressive, revolutionary, and rational system in human history. The ideological and social system of feudalism has a place only in the Museum of History. The ideological and social system... I hope the game's not too loud. I'll make my voice a bit louder if that's the case. The ideological and social system of feudalism has a place only in the Museum of History. The ideological and social system of capitalism has also become a museum piece in one part of the world, in the Soviet Union, while in other countries it resembles a dying person who is sinking fast, like the sun setting beyond the western hills, and will soon be relegated to the museum. The communist ideological and social system alone is full of youth and vitality, sweeping the world with the momentum of an avalanche and the force of a thunderbolt. 1940. Well, turns out he was wrong. He did not know all that he was talking about. He was not all that smart, unfortunately. But who knows what'll happen next, you know? Who knows? The socialist system will eventually replace the capitalist system. This is an objective law independent of man's will. However much the reactionaries tried to hold back the wheel of history, sooner or later a revolution will take place and will eventually triumph. 1957. Oh, this is like a speech at the Soviet Union. So that was, I guess, wait, 40th anniversary of the October Revolution, basically. Okay. So yeah, Mao got around. We communists never conceal our political views. Definitely and beyond all doubt, our future is maximum program is to carry China forward to socialism and communism, both in the name of our party and our Marxist world outlook, and unequivocally point to this supreme ideal of the future, a future of incomparable brightness and splendor. 1945. Taken as a whole, the Chinese revolutionary movement, led by the Communist Party, embraces the two stages, i.e. the democratic and the socialist revolutions, which are two essentially different revolutionary processes, and the second process, which second process can be carried through only after the first has been completed. The democratic revolution is the necessary preparation for the socialist revolution, and the socialist revolution is the inevitable sequel to the democratic revolution. The ultimate aim for which all communists strive to bring about is the socialist and communist society. 1939. So back then he was serious about democracy, I guess. It's a bit odd to fight these bird people, because the Tengu are friends, but these bird people are our enemies. But it happens in Prophecies, the main game of Guild Wars. So there you have it. Socialist revolution aims at liberating the productive forces. The change over from individual to socialist collective ownership in agriculture and handicrafts, from socialist to from capitalist to socialist ownership in private industry and commerce, is bound to bring about a tremendous liberation of the productive forces. Thus, the social conditions are being created for a tremendous expansion of industrial and agricultural production. 1956. Next. We are now carrying out a revolution not only in the social system, the change from private to public ownership, but also in technology, the change from handicraft to large-scale modern machine production, and the two revolutions are interconnected. In agriculture, with conditions as they are in our country, cooperation must proceed the use of big machinery. In capitalist countries, agriculture develops in a capitalist way. Therefore, we must on no account regard industry and agriculture, socialist industrialization, and the socialist transformation of agriculture as two separate and isolated things, and on no account must we emphasize the one and play down the other. 1955. So that kind of lends credence to the theory that I kind of have that that people didn't really listen to Mao, I guess, because even socialists agree that there was too much emphasis on heavy industry, and I think that had happened in like the late 1920s in the Soviet Union as well. It's tempting to get an industrial working class, because implementing that, moving people into heavy industry like that, it did like accelerate the creation of a middle class. Then with factories come unions, and with unions there's like more bargaining, and yeah, and that's and it's kind of, and that kind of like increases wages, and increased wages means people can buy cars and houses and whatever, and take out mortgages and all that. So there's a point to it, but on the other hand, if you ask me, a real socialist system would bring farmers to that condition. Bring those more beneficial statuses to farmers, because farmers work harder than factory workers. They're out in the sun and all that. All right, tangent over. Let me get to a few more quotes before we conclude this episode. The new social system has only just been established and requires time for its consolidation. It must not be assumed that the new system can be completely consolidated. Can be the moment it is established. So when it is established, for that is impossible. It has to be consolidated step by step. To achieve its ultimate consolidation, it is necessary not only to bring about the socialist industrialization of the country and persevere in the socialist revolution on the economic front, but to carry on constant and arduous socialist revolutionary struggles and socialist education on the political and ideological fronts. Moreover, various contributory international factors are required. So, again, he's recognizing a lot that gets involved. This one, 1957, right before China really learned those lessons, and learned them hard. Oh, did they learn them? Yeah, a few years later, they had a big famine, and that really clarified that issue. Alright, I got recuperation, which, well, I mentioned it already. It's expensive, but it heals everyone. It heals everyone. And that's really good. Okay, quote. In China, the struggle to consolidate the socialist system, the struggle to decide whether socialism or capitalism will prevail, will still take a long historical period. But we should all realize that the new system of socialism will unquestionably be consolidated. We can assuredly build a socialist state with modern industry, modern agriculture, and modern science and culture. Yeah. So, Ibid. So, again, I feel like Mao is not really listened to, but do as I say, not as I do, maybe, or do as I say, come on, you're not doing it. Well, at least these quotes were handed out. Didn't really work, but it was worth a try, worth a shot. Okay, I'll do one more quote. The number of intellectuals who are hostile to our state is very small. If they do not like our state, i.e. the dictatorship of the proletariat, and yearn for the old society. Whenever there is an opportunity, they will stir up trouble and attempt to overthrow the Communist Party and restore the old China, as between the proletarian and bourgeois roads, as between the socialist and capitalist roads. These people stubbornly choose to follow the latter. And in fact, this road is impossible, and in fact, therefore, they are ready to capitulate to imperialism, feudalism, and bureaucrat capitalism. Such people are to be found in political circles and in industrial and commercial, cultural and educational, scientific and technological, and religious circles, and they are extremely reactionary.